Last week, Patricia Vaughn was grumbling while piping marigolds onto a vibrant Dia de los Muertos cake she secretly loathed. She didn't know it yet, but this was just the beginning. My sibling Mateo asked for a cultural cake to expose her hypocrisy, and we all jumped in. Her forced smile cracked when she had to frost Diwali sparkles. Her manager delighted Patricia trapped subscribe so you don't miss what's next. When Patricia once scoffed at a quincy in her cake order, Mateo came home furious. We had all learned to sidestep her bigotry by ignoring the bakery or avoiding celebrations altogether. But watching Mateo's frustration boil over, I realized something had to change. We're not ashamed of our culture, we're proud. That night, I remembered my grandma's papel picado strung across the living room. It lit a spark in me. Her icing would carry our colors next. Patricia had always hidden her bias behind a tight smile, but I remembered the time she accidentally misspelled Mohammed on a birthday cake. That wasn't a slip, it was a statement. I'd watched families walk out with heavy hearts and cracked frosting. Mateo and I started tracking her patterns. Each mistake a tally in our mental notebook. When she rolled her eyes at a Chinese New Year design, we knew it was time for action. We started simple. Mateo placed a detailed cake order for Dia de los Muertos, bright, symbolic, unmistakably cultural. Patricia's face tightened as she scribbled it down. I watched from a corner booth, pretending to sip coffee. When the finished cake came out stunning, we praised it publicly online. Suddenly, others chimed in with their own requests. Vietnamese Tet, Diwali, Junatend. Each new order chipped away at her comfort zone. The bakery's case turned into a kaleidoscope she couldn't control. Patricia tried to push back. She faked confusion about colors and symbols, hoping customers would cancel. But we'd done our homework. Each order came with exact design references, printouts, and backup links. No room for sabotage. Mateo even looped in his art teacher friend for help translating one design. Patricia's frustration bubbled, her fingers twitching as she piped a Black History Month message in bold red, black, and green. She looked like a hostage holding a piping bag. Fun Mom came in and ordered a pride-themed cake for her daughter's coming-out party. Patricia's eyes twitched at the rainbow design, but she had no choice. The mom had printed a full-color mock-pup, ready to escalate if it wasn't perfect. Word kept spreading. Each finished cake became a social post, a quiet rebellion baked in layers. Patricia was becoming known as the diversity decorator. Irony clung to her like buttercream. She was frosting her way into irrelevance. Then came the turning point. Our cousin ordered a Kwanzaa cake. Intentionally vague, just to test her. Patricia hesitated, mumbled about not being familiar, but the bakery's manager overheard. He lit up at the opportunity, calling it community engagement. He told Patricia to do more like that. Her fake smile barely held as she nodded. Mateo smirked. That wasn't just a win, it was a crack in her mask. The bakery wasn't just a battleground anymore, it was becoming our canvas. The manager announced a Culture Week cake showcase. He asked Patricia to lead. I nearly dropped my coffee, Hurley. But she had no way out. Orders kept rolling in, and now, she had to showcase her talents. Mateo and I submitted the most detailed cake request yet, a Nahuatl-inspired theme with indigenous patterns. When she wheeled it out, her hands shook, everyone clapped. Someone asked for her recipe, she winced. That applause, it wasn't for her, it was for us. A local reporter showed up with a camera, asking Patricia about her sudden popularity in cultural cakes. She blinked, stammered, then claimed, I've always supported diversity. I choked back a laugh. Behind her, shelves overflowed with Diwali dais, African kente patterns, and papel picado banners. Mateo nudged me, mouthing, she's strapped. The article ran the next morning. Headline: From skeptic to sweetheart, meet the baker behind cultural cakes. Patricia's photo beamed, but her eyes screamed. She had become the face of everything she despised. At the Culture Week finale, the bakery unveiled a massive cake representing global unity. Patricia posed beside it, dead-eyed. The crowd cheered, taking selfies, tagging the bakery. Someone handed her a thank you card in Vietnamese. She couldn't read it, but smiled stiffly for the photo. Mateo and I stood near the exit, watching. This was the final act. She wasn't just participating, she was the symbol now. Her hate had been outfrosted. One sprinkle at a time, justice had been served sweet. What started as a prank turned into a movement. Local schools began ordering cakes for Heritage Months. One teacher requested an Indigenous Peoples Day cake, citing Patricia's cultural creativity. She flinched, but nodded. The manager announced Cultural Cake Month, offering discounts for diverse orders. We didn't need to push anymore, the community took over. Patricia now spent her days frosting symbols she couldn't erase, and she had to smile through every one. Irony had never tasted so rich. A TikTok went viral. Someone captured Patricia grimacing while icing a Ramadan mooncake. The caption: When racism meets retail. Overnight, the bakery was flooded with requests from across the state. Patricia had unwittingly become the internet's favorite irony meme. Orders tripled, her shift hours extended. The manager was thrilled. She couldn't quit now the bakery was booming. Her punishment: eternal frosting servitude. One cultural design at a time, she paid the sweetest price for her sour beliefs. The bakery was nominated for a city award in inclusive business practices. Patricia had to attend the ceremony. She stood there, clapping awkwardly as the owner gave a speech about welcoming all traditions. They even played a slideshow of cakes, each one hers. Her name flashed under a rainbow-themed three-tiered masterpiece. Someone handed her flowers. She blinked to no exit. Mateo and I watched from the back. She was now officially the face of unity she never wanted. Patricia tried to push back behind the scenes, quietly complaining to the owner. He shrugged. You're good at this, why stop now? The bakery profits had soared. And so had her responsibilities. A month later, she was training new hires on how to pipe Japanese koi or Mexican milagros. One girl asked, isn't this empowering? Patricia's jaw locked. Her past intolerance had baked her into a cultural teacher. No lesson plan, just piping bags and public applause. Someone invited Patricia to speak at a local high school's culture day. She froze, then declined. But her rejection became another story. Decorator of diversity too shy to speak. The headline teased. Students started a hashtag bake like Patricia. Cakes flooded the school cafeteria that week. Some kids wore shirts with her frosting designs. She was being canonized into diversity lore, whether she liked it or not. Mateo couldn't stop laughing. We hadn't just won, we'd flipped the whole script. A young journalist asked to do a feature on Patricia's cultural artistry. We held our breath. Would she finally snap? Instead, she muttered through the interview, giving vague compliments about rich traditions. The article praised her evolution. Commenters cheered her growth. Nobody knew the truth. This wasn't change, it was forced adaptation. But the world didn't care. Patricia's brand was sealed. Our quiet resistance had become a public fairy tale, and she was stuck inside it forever. We visited the bakery one weekend and saw kids gathered around Patricia, asking about cake patterns. She faked a smile, giving half-hearted answers. One girl beamed, "You're why I feel proud of my heritage." Patricia blinked. That wasn't part of the plan. Matteo whispered, "She's inspiring inclusion against her will." I couldn't hold back my grin. She was now a reluctant role model, our tool of transformation. Trapped in a sugary pre-machine, she couldn't escape. A new hire asked Patricia for tips on Korean shoeskew designs. She hesitated, then answered with robotic precision. The apprentice praised her cultural sensitivity. That label spread fast. Social media crowned her the bakery's cultural queen. Patricia couldn't stop it. Her every move was under public gaze. Matteo printed her quotes on a mug. Diversity is sweet. She didn't sue, she couldn't. The frosting gloves were too tight, and the cake orders thicker than buttercream. Someone sent Patricia a scholarship flyer for a cultural baking exchange in Brazil. She crumpled it without reading, but the owner found out and submitted it on her behalf. She was accepted. The bakery announced it like a community win. Patricia was going international. She glared at the farewell cake, a giant globe with tiny flags. Matteo grinned. She's gonna spread tolerance whether she likes it or not. Her plane ticket one way, frosting fate sealed by her own hands. Weeks later we saw Patricia on a bakery's Instagram page in Sao Paulo. She stood beside students, hyping florals onto a carnival-themed cake. The caption praised her dedication to inclusive art. Comments flooded and she's a hero. Matteo nearly dropped his phone laughing. She had crossed borders, trapped in the very narrative she once scorned. No press release could undo it. Her legacy was sealed not by choice, but by frosting. Sweet, relentless, poetic frosting. A baking YouTuber featured Patricia in a video, dubbing her queen of cultural confections. She said nothing throughout, only nodding and icing a Maori Cory swirl. The comments were relentless. She's a global gem. Pure evolution. Matteo and I watched it twice, stunned. Our reluctant icon was now trending worldwide. She couldn't walk this back even if she tried. Her hands, once biased, now told stories she never meant to tell. That mixer, her crown, her silence, legendary. We walked into the bakery to see Patricia teaching a kids' workshop about African Adinkra symbols. She spoke softly, reading from cue cards, each word visibly pained. A parent filmed her and posted, "Look how far she's come." It exploded online. Suddenly, local libraries asked her to lead cultural literacy events. She was being booked out. Matteo leaned in, whispering, "She's frosting her penance." I nodded. Her redemption wasn't real, but the impact, oh, that was tangible. Patricia was nominated for a community award in cultural education. She tried to withdraw, the committee refused. "Your work speaks volumes," they said. The gala was televised. She sat stiffly in a sparkly sari someone lent her. When they called her name, applause thundered. Matteo almost fell off the couch laughing. Her thank you speech, 2 sentences, polite, hollow still. The crowd cheered. Patricia had become the town's diversity darling, unwilling, ironic, and completely unforgettable. Matteo started a bake blog called Just Desserts, documenting Patricia's journey. Each post compared her latest creation to past bigotry. It blew up. Readers called her a case study in poetic justice. She was suddenly a cultural icon, ironically. Against her will, even her old quotes were being turned into memes. One viral edit showed her glaring beside a cake that said, "Celebrate all." Her legacy was sealed in buttercream and blog traffic. No take-backs allowed. One day, I overheard Patricia telling a trainee, "People remember how you make them feel with cake." My jaw dropped. Was that growth or just muscle memory? Either way, she was teaching inclusion now, through piping tips and reluctant praise. Kids adored her, schools quoted her, and every cultural celebration came with a Patricia special. Matteo and I never had to lift a finger again. Our little rebellion had bloomed into a frosting-covered revolution, and she was its queen. A documentary crew arrived, planning a short film on unexpected change agents. Patricia was their focus. Cameras followed her piping, green kids, ranging culture-themed cakes. She didn't flinch. She'd been doing this long enough to fake comfort. The final scene showed her piping unity in 10 languages. She didn't smile, but the world did. Matteo watched the trailer and whispered, "She's stuck forever now," and I toasted her with a tamarind cupcake. Justice never tasted better. Her face now hung on a mural outside the bakery painted by a local teen who called her a symbol of change. Patricia stood there during the unveiling, trapped in a smile. Matteo clapped wildly. I just sipped my Horchata latte, amused. She was now immortalized not for who she was but for what she'd been forced to represent. The frosting, the fame, the forced redemption, it all stuck. And she couldn't scrub any of it off. I walked past that mural weekly. At first, I laughed, then I paused. Patricia was never meant to be the hero, but the outcome was undeniable. Our neighborhood had changed. Kids pointed at her cakes with pride. Families ordered without fear. I thought about Grandma's papel picado and Matteo's first prank order. Who knew frosting could start a revolution? Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud, it's layered, shared, and frosted in public view. At a block party, a teen told me she ordered a Diwali cake from Patricia just to see her struggle, and smiled watching her do it right. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about payback. It was about proof that our culture mattered, that it could take up space. Patricia's discomfort wasn't the point anymore. Our visibility was, and that visibility now had sprinkles. Victory tasted like cardamom, glitter, and poetic justice. At a block party, a teen told me she ordered a Diwali cake from Patricia just to see her struggle, and smiled watching her do it right. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about payback. It was about proof that our culture mattered, that it could take up space. Patricia's discomfort wasn't the point anymore. Our visibility was, and that visibility now had sprinkles. Victory tasted like cardamom, glitter, and poetic justice. Now every Saturday, the bakery hosts Culture Cake Hour. Kids decorate mini cakes while Patricia watches. Kiting gently, parents chat, laughter fills the shop. She's quiet but present. Her past bigotry isn't erased, it's just buried under layers of ganache and glitter. Matteo and I sip iced Horchata, watching generations frost freely. This isn't forgiveness, it's evolution. Patricia didn't choose this legacy, but the community did, and that might be the sweetest part of all. The mural got updated, tiny frosting tubes added into Patricia's hands, symbolic sure, but also hilarious. She couldn't escape her new identity, even in paint. A plaque below read from prejudice to pastry pie, people snap selfies daily. Mateo smirked. Think she ever dreamed of being a role model? I shook my head. She didn't choose this path. But now, her hands piped inclusion daily, and our little protest became the town's proudest tradition. Each year, Patricia now ices a cake for the town's diversity parade. She never speaks during the ceremony, just stands by the cake table, nodding silently. Kids wave, parents cheer, and somewhere between the layers of saffron, chocolate, and nube there's our triumph. Her hands once refused to decorate our joy, now, they preserve it. Our story isn't just sweet, it's shared. And Patricia, she became the icing on it just as we baked together. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.